They pointed a golden eye into what looked like nothing, just a dark patch, quiet, harmless, a black wound between stars no human would ever notice without help, the kind of emptiness your mind is trained to dismiss. And then the James Webb Space Telescope looked there. It was supposed to confirm a familiar story. A vast universe, yes. A beautiful one, yes. But still a universe that unfolded with some patience, some order, some mercy in its timeline. Instead, that tiny patch of darkness opened like a grave. A region of sky no bigger than a grain of sand held at arm's length was suddenly crowded with thousands of galaxies. Not a few distant smudges, not decorative sparks, cities of stars, structures layered behind structures, light behind light, ages behind ages. The image was beautiful. That was the first lie. Because Webb's deep field is not a portrait of peace, it is evidence. Evidence that the universe has always been far more crowded, far more ancient, and far more unnervingly active than the night sky ever lets you believe. And once you understand what you are really looking at, the image changes. It stops being pretty. It becomes haunted. Because Webb is not seeing those galaxies as they are now. It is catching what they were when their light began its long escape. Light does not cross the cosmos instantly. It crawls, even at 300,000 kilometers per second, when the distances are measured in billions of years. Every ancient glow in that image is delayed reality. Every shape is an old message. Every faint red smear is a report from a universe that no longer exists in quite that form. What reaches Webb is not the present. It is a body of evidence from the dead. That is the first crack in your intuition. The deeper you look into space, the farther you fall into time. Distance becomes delay. Beauty becomes testimony. The sky is no longer a ceiling. It is an archive, a crime scene made of light. And the deeper Webb searched that archive, the stranger the evidence became. Because the young universe was not supposed to look like this. It was supposed to be clumsy, primitive, half-built. The first galaxies were expected to be small, dim, and uncertain, like sparks trying to survive in a darkness that had only just begun to loosen its grip. That was the old map. Sensible, elegant, hard-earned. But Webb found something else. Too many bright galaxies, too early. Not one freak object, not one mistake. A pattern. Galaxies that looked more luminous than expected. More abundant than expected. In some cases, more developed than the age of the universe should comfortably allow. Later, some of the most extreme claims softened. A few of those early monsters were not as impossibly massive as they first appeared, because black holes can gorge themselves on infalling gas and flood a galaxy with extra light, making it look heavier than it really is. So no, the universe did not confess to breaking all of physics, but it did not clear itself either. Because even after the corrections, even after the skepticism, even after the careful trimming away of exaggeration, something remained. Webb was still seeing more bright early galaxies than theorists expected. The tension survived. The timeline still felt wrong. The young universe still looked too efficient, too fast, too awake. And this is where the beautiful image becomes dangerous. Because now the question is no longer, what are we seeing? Now the question is, why was it already there? To understand that, you have to follow the light into stranger territory. Space is not still, it stretches. It has been stretching since the beginning. As ancient light crosses that expanding abyss, space pulls at it, lengthening it, reddening it, dragging visible light down into infrared. That is why Webb had to be built the way it was built. Not just powerful, cold, hidden, shielded, sensitive to wavelengths your eyes will never know exist. It was designed to catch light the universe, tried to bury, and when it did, it found objects like MOM-Z14, a galaxy seen only about 280 million years after the Big Bang. Think about that. Not after billions of years of slow accumulation, not after cosmic adolescence, almost at the beginning. As if the universe had barely opened its eyes and was already assembling something immense enough to leave a scar on observation. Worse, gravity itself helps hide and reveal this crime. Massive galaxy clusters warp space like glass under pressure. They bend sight. They distort the path of light from deeper realms. Gravitational lensing turns the universe into its own surveillance device, letting the dead magnify the even more ancient dead behind them. Nothing about this is imaginary. That is what makes it terrifying. The physics is real, the equations hold, the measurements sharpen. And what they reveal is not a universe violating law, but a universe obeying laws that lead to consequences so extreme they feel almost obscene. But that is only the beginning, because the early universe was not merely crowded, it was violent. For a long time after the Big Bang, the cosmos was drowned in fog. Hydrogen smothered everything. No stars, no clear horizons, no bright architecture, just darkness waiting under pressure. Then the first great burnings began. Massive stars ignited inside newborn galaxies and started pouring ultraviolet radiation into the primordial gas. Not gently, not poetically. They ripped electrons from hydrogen. They tore through the fog. They turned the young universe from opaque to transparent through assault. This period has a clean scientific name: Ryanization. But the name hides the brutality. It was a cleansing by fire. Webb has shown signs that some of those early galaxies were not calm nurseries at all, but frantic engines. Star formation flared in bursts, then faltered. Gas collapsed, heated, scattered, returned. Black holes fed in the middle of the chaos, adding their own glow, their own appetite, their own distortion. The universe did not grow like a garden. It convulsed into structure. And if this journey into the dark is the kind of truth you want more of, then stay with me beyond the safe edge. Subscribe and keep walking deeper into these impossible places, because the farther we go, the less forgiving the cosmos becomes. Now make it personal. Because some of these remote galaxies contain things that feel almost comfortingly familiar. Dust, chemistry, hydrocarbons. The raw ingredients that much later would help form stars, worlds, oceans, atmospheres, and eventually creatures capable of fear. Webb's images show hints of that material already present in the deep field, woven into systems that look, from a distance, like order. That familiarity is another trap. These are not homes. They are not early Edens. They are lethal factories, regions of structure born under ruthless ultraviolet bombardment, packed with hot young stars, shaped by violent gas flows, perhaps lit in part by feeding black holes. They carry the ingredients of future life, but they exist inside conditions that would erase anything fragile before it could even learn the meaning of survival. The universe learned to build beauty long before it learned anything resembling mercy. And yet, buried inside that cruelty, there is a more fragile thought: hope. Not the cheap kind, not the fantasy that Webb has found life waving back from the abyss. Nothing so simple. The hope here is colder, more distant, more profound. If galaxies were building stars earlier and more efficiently than we expected, then the chemical enrichment of the cosmos may also have begun earlier. The first furnaces may have started forging the ingredients of future worlds sooner than our old stories allowed. The dust, the carbon-rich compounds, the seeds of rocky planets and complex chemistry may have been spreading through the universe while it was still young enough to seem almost unfinished. Which means the path to habitable worlds may have opened earlier too. Not proven, not promised, but whispered. And whispers matter in places this old. Long before Webb, another witness stood at the edge and strained to see what lay beyond it. Hubble found GN-Z11, a bright infant galaxy seen as it was roughly 400 million years after the Big Bang. It was a warning disguised as a record, a glimpse of something earlier than expected, a signal from the threshold. Webb was built to go beyond that threshold. It took decades, designs imagined in the shadow of Hubble, years of argument, engineering, delay, reinvention, a mirror that had to fold like a secret, a sunshield that had to unfurl perfectly or fail in silence, a machine sent 1.5 million kilometers from Earth to a place no astronaut can reach to save it. That matters, because humanity did not stumble into this knowledge. It paid for it in patience, in risk, in generations of hands building an instrument too delicate to repair and too important to lose. Webb had to leave the safety of rescue behind so it could catch ancient infrared light drifting through an expanding graveyard of time. We built a machine to prove the sky was larger than comfort. And it succeeded. Now we know the young universe was not the quiet cradle we imagined. It was already assembling magnificence with unsettling speed, already producing brightness where there should have been hesitation, already carving structure out of darkness while our theories were still expecting rubble. This does not mean science failed. It means reality is still ahead of us. And that is the warning hidden inside the wonder. Because the more clearly we see, the less central we become. The observable universe is not merely vast, it is still moving away from itself. Expansion is accelerating. The galaxies we study are being carried deeper into separation. The long future of the cosmos does not look crowded. It looks lonely. A universe that built enormous beauty early, then kept stretching the distances until even beauty became remote. So the true scale of the universe is not just size, it is speed. It is indifference. It is the horrifying efficiency with which existence organized itself out of almost nothing, and the quiet certainty that it will keep drifting outward long after every familiar sky is gone. When you look up tonight, the stars will seem calm, fixed, decorative. You will feel for a moment as if the darkness above you is passive. It isn't. It hides archives. It preserves violence. It carries ancient testimony toward a small planet where a temporary species has learned, just barely, how to listen. And maybe that is the strangest part of all, that you are small enough to be erased by this scale and conscious enough to feel it. That the universe made galaxies too early, light too old, distances too large, futures too lonely, and still somehow made a mind capable of trembling at the sight of it. If you want to keep tracing these signals from the dark, stay with this channel. Subscribe, not just for answers, but for the next fracture in the story we tell ourselves about the cosmos. Because out there, beyond the reach of your eyes, the universe is still revealing how little mercy it ever needed to become magnificent.